Look at these stunning embellishments. Would you believe they all started as plain boring buttons? Instead of letting old buttons sit around, I tried different ways to transform them into handmade pieces to match any journal theme. One transformation completely surprised me. I didn't think it would work, but it turned out to be one of the best. Let me show you these 5 easy ideas you can try for yourself. First up, we're going to make a faux linen button. So we've got some linen buttons here. They make charming additions to our journal projects, but they can be a little bit hard to come by. So I've been playing around with a few ideas, and I think I've come up with an idea that we can create our own. So let's just push these aside. We start off by punching out some circles out of some cardstock. So scraps are ideal for this, or perhaps the scrapbook paper you don't use. Next, we're going to cut a small square out of our fabric that we can work with. So this is the type of fabric that you're looking for with that type of weave. So I place my disc down onto the fabric, and here I am just tracing around, giving about maybe roughly a 5mm seam allowance. Now I'm cutting out the circle here. I do end up cutting out 2. The reason being is that I didn't want the button, and especially if you've got a bit of patterned paper underneath, you don't want that showing through. So I've got the 2 circles here, and I'm now placing a little bit of glue down onto the disc. Okay, so I'm just putting the first layer down. Just a small sheer layer of glue, and then I'm applying a second layer here. And I did use the heat gun to dry it off, but if you don't have one, that's fine. Just set it aside and it can dry naturally. Okay, so I'm just putting a little bit of glue on the seam allowance area and just catching a little bit of that disc as well. And I'm just using my fingernails here, and I am just pressing. Yep, the glue globules get in the way. So I'm just explaining it's like putting a layer of pastry down on top of a pie dish, and now what we're doing is we're just folding the edges over the disc. So I'm just using my nail, and I'm just pressing the fabric and pinching it onto the disc and the glue. So any of those little sharp corners I'm just working through with my nail, and I'm just trying to get as round a shape as possible. This is why a good strong fabric glue that does give you a little bit of give is good to choose here. So just be patient with this process. And if you get any bit of glue globules, try and get them off, but if not, it doesn't really matter because it does add to the look of the worn button. I'm just showing the original buttons how they look and how they've got a few marks on them. So I'm just getting a pencil and I'm guesstimating where the 2 holes are. If you've got a button of a similar size, you could use that as a template and just draw the buttons. And I'm grabbing my hole punch here. So I have got a Fiskars 2mm punch, and I'm just punching the holes. So I'm grabbing my jump rings now. These are the 4mm brass ones. If you don't have jump rings, you could, and you've got some craft wire, you could maybe sort of shape them into a circle. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue here, just around the circles or the little holes. And I'm just using some tweezers and I'm just placing them sort of on top of the hole. I'm trying to um, push them onto the hole, but I'm also trying to get them to sort of go into the hole a little bit as well. The holes are 2 millimeters and the jump rings are 4 millimeters. So I'm just trying to force them into the groove as much as I can. And there we have it. So I just work on it a little bit more. Now, if you have a tool similar to this, what I'm doing here is I'm really pressing it in. The glue that I use is a very strong bond, so once it dries, it's not going anywhere. I use the Helmer 450, and then here I get my awl and I just go through again, poke the hole and just try and get rid of any of that glue residue. And there we have it. This is the top layer. So I cut a third circle now. So you could do that right at the beginning. And I just repeat the process, but this time we're only doing the one layer. It's the base of the button. You technically probably don't even need to do it, but if for some reason you think that the base of the button would be seen in your project, this could be a good idea how to finish it off. So I'm just putting the glue around the seam allowance again. And I am just pinching the fabric into place. So guys, I don't think I've had the opportunity to welcome you to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you once again for watching my video. I really do appreciate it very much. So I'm just continuing around and finishing off with the button there, or the circle, pressing the fabric on, and I think this time around it actually was a little bit easier and it seemed to come out as a nice circle. So there we have it. So I'm just getting the top layer and I'm just applying a little bit of glue, and here we will now sandwich them together. This is a good opportunity to have a look, and if you've got any threads or any little you know, peaks or little sharpish bits, you could just poke them or press them back in. But I'm pretty happy with that. So there we have it. There's the button, and that's an original button next to it. So I think it's a pretty good job. And an idea I thought we could use it is as a tag topper. There. I hope you enjoyed that one. Now, if you did want to distress the button, you could get some distress ink. So I've got vintage photo there, or tea dye. The other one was old paper, and just you could just distress lightly the edges. So there we have our faux linen button. All right, before number 2, just a tiny ad break. I think you'll like this one. This video is brought to you by the Jolly Dispatch, my cozy little craft club. Here's the very first edition, full of ideas, updates, and creative inspiration. It's my way of sharing what I can't always fit into YouTube. When you sign up, you'll get free printables, new kit updates, behind the scenes tips, and exclusive offers. We always respect your inbox. You'll only hear from me when it really matters. Joining is free, and it's like getting a little creative letter straight from my desk in Western Australia. But don't forget, after you sign up, check your inbox for a second email to confirm your subscription. Otherwise, you won't be added. And you'll find the sign up link right below in the pinned comment and the description. Next up, let's transform these fabric covered shank buttons. I picked these fabric buttons up when I was thrift shopping a few years ago, and I've never really liked them. I thought maybe I could use them as a closure on a junk journal cover. So I played around and I managed to actually recover one. Now, it was a bit of a tricky process, so we will walk through what I actually did to get this done. As you can see, they've got a metal casing in the back with a shank. So I grab myself my pokey tool, and what I'm trying to do here is just start lifting up the fabric. So I'm just starting off with just a few threads, and I'm just trying to see if I can get that fabric to just lift up, because what I want to do is try and get like an anchorage point that I can try and pull at it. But I keep going, and then I do pick up my scissors. These are very small scissors with a very sharp point. So I go around where I've kind of teased up a few threads and started to make a bit of a fray there, and I just keep trying to snip, and I'm just trying to get in underneath between the layers to see if I can just start making a snip. So yep, I managed to get in there and start cutting away, and then I'm revealing the bottom layer of the button, which has got another piece of fabric. So now I can pull the fabric back over the casing, and I'm trying to pull the fabric out. Now, this button was, I've done a few buttons now. This was actually one of the trickiest buttons, which is typical when I'm filming, but also it's probably a good thing to show you that with a bit of perseverance you can keep going. So I've grabbed myself some pliers here, and I'm now just trying to pull, and just, yeah, I did a bit of a slow-mo here because I finally did get it, guys. It did actually end up coming out. So with a bit of perseverance, you can now pull that fabric out. So here it comes. Got it. So, yay! Now I can pull the metal casing apart, and I can just take off these little bits of thread, and now we can start working with the button. So we've got the casing and then the backing. So I flick through some fabrics. There's so many choices, so many options now. So I settled on that pink and tan tartan fabric. So I'm just tracing around a seam allowance again, just to create a rough circle. This time I'm allowing a little bit extra because we have to mold this around the button and we have to glue it down. So I'm just cutting out my circle here. Okay, so I have now apply some 450 Helmar quick dry glue. I would recommend just a light sheer application of the glue. I went for the Helmar 450 because it's, to me, it's kind of gripping onto a bit of fabric but also the metal. So I'm just placing the fabric over the top, and now I am just easing the fabric around and molding it around the button casing. So grabbing the glue again, and I'm now applying a circle of glue, like just trying to get like a bead of glue, and focusing on that rim and then just slightly on the inside of the rim. And I'm now using my fingernails again, and I'm just folding over the fabric and pinching it into place. And again, if there's any of these little sharp tucks, I'm just reworking it to try and get a smooth and round as possible. And another little thing I did was I grabbed some precision point craft pliers, and I'm just now where it sort of looks like it's puckered a little bit, I'm just grabbing the fabric because by now the glue has gripped, so I'm just pushing it or pulling it into place just to smooth out that button casing area there. Okay, so now we can pop the back in. Now this did end up being a little bit tough. Like I've done a few and this was the toughest one. So I just got myself a bit of a jewelry mallet there and I just tapped it into place. So there we have it. Beautiful finished button. Button number 3, turning it into mini art with a frame. Oh, I'm so excited to share this one with you guys. This was one of my favorites. I had some chipboard frames that I never really knew what to do with, so I grabbed some of them. I washed them with some acrylic sepia brown, very watered down paint. I've also put some scrapbook paper on the back of it, and I placed the buttons down. Oh, by the way, guys, wait till you see the next one, what I did with the distress embossing glaze, the one by Tim Holtz. Anyway, so I've put some of these little mini buttons down, and then I got some seed beads and I just filled up the negative space. I started off with some white ones, and then I decided I would fill them up with these sort of more clear looking ones. So I'm just placing them in. Here are the clear looking ones. They've got a bit of a bluish sort of tint to them, so I thought they would go well. So I'm just filling in all the negative spaces, and then I get some Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. You could also use the glossy accents if that's what you've got. And I'm just basically just covering all of the buttons. Button number 4, we're creating faux wax seals. So I had these buttons with rims on them and I was trying to figure out what to do with them. And I've also got some washi tapes which I thought would be good for this project. So I've got these black silhouette lady, and then I found one that had like a little flower, like a little circular flower that would fit one of the buttons. So I placed the washi tape over the button, and then with my awl, the sharp pointed end, I'm just working my way around and I'm just trying to create this serrated edge by poking the awl into kind of like the rim, using the rim as a guide and working my way around the button to create this like serrated edge. Now the reason I do this is because I would never get a perfect circle if I tried to cut this by hand. So I just keep my thumb down and I gently prise the paper up, and I was able to get this lovely round circle. So I've just now applied the glue into the button, and then I put the washi tape flower back into the center, and now I'm just adding some glossy accents over the top. So I was trying to figure out how I would get the buttonhole back, and then I thought to myself, these could kind of work like faux wax seals, and I knew I had some small dried flowers. So I thought, let's try an experiment and see how this works. So I just put some glossy accents down and then placed the small tiny little flower in there, and then covered it over again with some glossy accents. So I get my scissors now and I cut the little lady out, the silhouette lady, and I put that onto a black button. I thought that would complement that nicely and make the yellow pop, and then highlight the black lady, the silhouette of her head, and then I put some glossy accents over the top. So I can't wait to show you the final reveal at the end, but here it is while it's still wet. Finally, my favourite, turning plain buttons into glass look accents. Oh, I'm so excited to share this one with you guys. This turned out so well. So I get myself a button. Now I do think I slightly sanded it with an emery board down first, but I'm just using my awl just to sort of pin the button down, and I've got some gesso, and I'm just lightly applying a layer of gesso. I do think I actually did a couple of layers of the gesso. So just work your way around, and I'm just drying it with a heat gun here. If you don't have a heat gun, just set it aside to dry it. Now I've got a rub on, and I'm just sizing one up to see what fits the best, and I cut it out and I place it down onto the button, just slightly pressing it there just to kind of give it a bit of a adhering. And I get myself a stylus tool, and I just start working my way around, and I'm just rubbing the the button transfer of the butterfly onto the button. So just being as thorough as I can, just to make sure that I get every little bit covered. And slowly lift it up. Now get myself some Versamark. I was really impressed with how well that transferred. Put my button on some tweezers, and then I press it into the Versamark. You can see I've got good coverage there, and I get myself the Tim Holtz Distress Embossing Glaze. This is the salvaged patina, and just press it in, just tapped it slightly just to get rid of any lumps. And then I get my embossing gun, and oh my goodness, guys, I was so impressed. Before my eyes, I could see this beautiful glass look. So I decided to dip it in a second time just to give it a bit more of a coating, and that did the trick. It just, before my eyes, this magic revealed. I'm probably a little bit late to the game on this, but I am so impressed. I'm getting more colours, and this is definitely going to be on the repeat for me. Look at how beautiful that turned out. So I'm going to do a reveal at the end. So here we are with the final reveal. We've got the faux linen button there on the left, and these are the fabric buttons that I recovered. I actually did a few earlier on, so even the small one I did, so I hope you've got some lying around. This is the mini button art. I was so happy with how this turned out. I think this could even be a cover piece for a junk journal easily. These are the faux waxed seals, and these ones were the Tim Holtz embossing glaze I went to town on. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll leave you with this final little button one that I did. If you try your own spin on the altered buttons, tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see them. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned a few seconds longer just to see what I've got in store for you now.